Hey guys, welcome back to Ava Technologies. Thank you for joining us. Today we have got a slightly different format. Rather than firing through 4 or 5 stories of the latest AI news, we've decided to focus on one story a day, try and keep the videos to around about 10 minutes to be able to go into a little bit more depth, but obviously not go too long. So we're going to try this new format, see how we get on. Hope you enjoy it. Listen, while you're here, give us a like, subscribe. It costs nothing, but it shows your appreciation, and we would really love that. So, Will, let's dive into the first headline that we came across.
The first and only headline for today, with our new format, our new recording setup. We've got some new lighting. We have a new bit of software that's hopefully going to help us do better. So here's the article. I will show it very briefly and then I'll close it and we'll go to a topic, because it's less about what's in the article and it's more about the conversation that's surrounding it, which is your next job will require AI skills. And this goes into the idea that you need AI fluency for the jobs of the day, and that's only going to increase. And the chart that I think can kickstart our discussion, and I'll tell you why, is this chart here, which talks about in July 2023, there was a survey done where for every 1,000 job applications that were out there, 65 of which mentioned the idea of Gen AI skills being needed. And fast forward to July 2025, it's now 956 out of that 1,000 job applications require Gen AI or mention Gen AI in the required skill set. So it's a 14x in 2 years. And that's really the article. That's all I want to share about with the article. What I think we should do is have a more detailed discussion over this next 10 minutes, which is to talk about where our jobs were 2 years ago and where they are today, and how we see it then going for the next 2 years and how that will transform. So 2 years ago, today, 2 years' time, what do you think, Ben? You kick us off because you're in marketing, I'm in tech. Good perspectives.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that's quite valuable for the audience. We can come from it from 2 different angles. So, in all honesty, the world has changed so much, and in terms of the way that we're using AI, it's accelerating our output, it's magnifying our output. We've been using AI literally since day one, and I think that's the key for anyone who's not sure how to deploy it, not sure how to use it, just wants to try and figure it out. The short answer, and there's no golden silver bullet, or I always get confused with those two. Is it a silver bullet or a golden bullet? But you get the gist.
I always say silver bullet.
Okay, we'll go silver. I'd like to know what the golden bullet is, but maybe that's something. But there's no silver bullet to AI, and for companies who say they want AI skills, it's just use it, play with it, get into it, and for the marketing side, it's just amplified everything that we're doing. We've been able to create more content than we've ever been able to create, multiple different forms of content that we would have never been able to have created. And it's just had a huge magnifying effect. And it's really interesting because I think that graph that we see going exponentially, I think that's still just the beginning. I think it's just going to accelerate and accelerate. It's very much looks like a graph of the adoption of AI. It's the where share prices of AI, open AI, for example, it's everything AI is just going, boom. So whether it's the finances, whether it's jobs, whether it's skills needed, it's just going to go crazy and it's not stopping. So I think the key is just to get on board, start using it in whatever roles you're using. I mean, even as, talking about how I use it differently, it's compared to 2 years ago, other than amplifying content and creating more content and different types of content that we wouldn't have been able to do. I think it also acts as like another, from my role, I could say, I prompted to say, act as another CMO and, what would you suggest or what am I missing? So it just is another expert in the room that can help guide you and help you make better decisions. So I think I think from a marketing perspective,
at least observing it, is that it seems like as a CMO, you have that central role, but now you have all these different abilities to also be able to orchestrate the creation of content in many other domains that you wouldn't have been able to before. For example, you can create music, you can create long-form blog posts, social posts, podcasts, or AI-generated podcasts even. Things that you would have had to orchestrate a big team to do, now you can do it yourself.
Yeah,
which is
absolutely.
wild.
And we're not having to think about, we need another head to do this, we need another body to do this, whatever it is. Or, we can't do that because we haven't got that expertise. And is it worth bringing it in, or is it worth outsourcing? All that's gone. That's what's phenomenal. But the key thing is, it still needs a human touch, because you need good prompting, good structure, good processes, particularly as if you do have a team, you're not going to be doing it all yourself, and you want that consistency of output, and particularly in sensitive areas like we're building Ava Mind, which is a mental health app. So we need to be very mindful of the content that we are putting out. So if it's obviously AI created content, like for example, this is not a real podcast that we do, like a little bit tongue in cheek, but it's explicitly clear this is not a real podcast. It is an AI podcast. We're sort of playing with the tools that are available to us, but the content itself is of high value. Yeah. So provided users can sort of understand that, which we're explicitly clear with, then there is still huge value in that. And again, that podcast, as an example we're talking about, comes from other forms of content that we've created, and we're just able to create one piece of content that can turn into like 20 pieces of output, which is just phenomenal. And we could probably do 50 forms of content from this one that we create at its core. So it's quite incredible and quite interesting.
Absolutely. I mean, it's very similar within software engineering. My role is very technical, and I think often we see the software engineers get to see the technology first, because I think that we're building it. So I think I have a unique perspective on where it's going as well. For me, my job role has changed dramatically over the last 2 years from what software engineering was 2 years ago. When ChatGPT came out, we used it as just like a kind of a helpful assistant. You might paste in a bit of your code and ask it about it. It might write you a little bit of code. It was very limited context, and it was just like a helpful way to get information and feedback on the smallest bits of context. But the vast majority of the code was still written by engineers in person, and that's where it was when ChatGPT first came out. But what we've seen over time, through various different innovations, and what I've specifically seen, and now when I look at the job that I do today, it's far more of this this orchestration role. I oversee an AI agent that does a lot more coding. I plan with it. I work with it. I work with a team, but then I also take it in and work with the AI assistant to come up with these robust specifications and these in-depth plans. And the AI does an awful lot of the heavy lifting of that implementation. When it's done, I review, I feed back, I make changes. But, I'd say far more than 50% of the code that is written by AI, with myself managing the output or managing the output of other people that are doing the same thing. It's a very interesting thing, and I think from my perspective this will only continue for the next 2 years. We'll slowly get higher and higher level, and you will all be orchestrators. Your job will be involved to orchestrate the planning and the execution of tasks that will be done by AI agents, which will talk to each other as well. You might have one agent, as you said, that writes the blog content and then passes it without you needing to ask. That agent passes it to the one that will create the Not a Real podcast. And then once all of that content has been gathered from the 5 agents that do that, it will then feed it back to you as the orchestrator, as the operator, to review it all, and then you will give feedback, and then again it will go and get routed to the correct agent to correct it or to make changes, and then again we see that a lot within the software engineering world already coming into its own, and I think that will transcend and go in the next 2 years to many other job roles.
Yeah, well, I think for the audience, I think what's very obvious is ultimately our roles are very similar when we're talking about AI skills. We're orchestrating, we're planning, we are checking, we are tweaking. We're project managing. It's just I'm project managing within that marketing space. You're project managing within that software build. So I think for the audience, it's if you're worried about oh my god, I don't feel like I've got the skills. What you've got to think about is whatever your role is, you've effectively got to learn how to use AI in this way of
how to project manage. Exactly.
Yeah, you sort of making sure the prompts are correct. What's this is working within the structure and the processes that the business or the organization adheres to. Maybe there's compliance requirements, etc., etc. So I think that's the takeaway, I would say, is for anyone listening who's wanting to get into AI and they're not sure how to, what does that even mean? We're all figuring it out, and there is no silver bullet. And there isn't any clear playbook, but this is the way it appears to be shaping out.
I think that's the key skill set that I see it moving towards, is that all of our jobs, you'll have to become a lot more fluent in project management skills. The project management skills of when you're managing people is the same kind of concept as if you're managing, whether you're managing people or you're managing AI agents. It's the same kind of concept. You should speak to the AI as explicitly and as in depth as you would to the human counterpart. And I think if we all get better, if you're to develop one skill as well as understanding where the space is going and what's being developed, having your ear to the ground in that respect. The other thing is to learn to project manage and learn the skill sets that are associated, because I think that will make your time operating AI and the different services that are here right now and what will come will make that your life a lot easier.
No, definitely. Mate, I think that's a good place to wrap it up.
I think that is.
Sounds good. So this is our new format, a little bit sort of shorter in many respects, but focusing on one topic, one story. I hope you guys got value out of it. It doesn't cost anything. Hit that like button. Really appreciate it. And keep tuned in until the next one.
Catch you later.
Cheers, guys.